KP classes dedicated to excellence.
Hello everyone, this is R.H. Chandar from KP Gate classes, and this is going to be an important video for those who are preparing for the upcoming GATE architecture and planning examination. So for any competitive test, not only GATE but for any competitive examination, even before you start with your preparation, it is very important to know what you're getting into. It is very important to have a thorough understanding of the syllabus, the thorough understanding of the exam pattern, the thorough understanding of the recent trends in the exam pattern. So understanding these basics is important for competitive examination and to do well in the competitive examinations. And in this video, for GATE Architecture and Planning 2026, we are going to learn all those basics before you kickstart your preparation. Going through this video will be really helpful for you to understand the syllabus, exam pattern, and many more details. So let me take you first through the brief of what are we going to discuss in this short video. So to first begin with, we will discuss about the question paper, the structure of the question paper, the number of questions, the marks, the duration. So understanding the structure of the question paper is the first thing. We'll then look into the understanding of the syllabus of the GATE examination as per the official GATE exam syllabus. It generally changes once every 10 to 15 years, but recently the updated GATE syllabus was released in GATE 2021, so it is not expected to be revised very soon. So we will be discussing about the GATE Architecture and Planning exam syllabus, which has been updated in the year 2021. We will also go through the discussion of the marks distribution. This is going to be a key, an important insight for you to analyze the question paper. So I will take you through some important pointers to be kept in mind even before you start with your preparation. Will be helpful in your long run to score well in the examination. And finally, we'll summarize with some important pointers to keep in your mind during the course of your preparation. So let me take you to the first point, that is understanding the structure of the question paper. The exam pattern of GATE Architecture and Planning was updated in the year 2022. Official new syllabus was released in the year 2021. For GATE 2021 Architecture and Planning, a new syllabus was introduced, and then GATE 2022, a new pattern of the paper was released, and that pattern is still being followed till 2025. Even that is expected to be followed for the upcoming GATE 2026 examination as well. So the exam paper would be mainly divided into 4 parts, of which you'll need to attempt any 3 parts. Let me not confuse you. First, to begin with, so in the examination GATE Architecture and Planning, you will be having 4 parts or 4 sections, and of these 4 sections you will need to attempt 3. So first, to begin with, general aptitude. So irrespective of, so the selection is basically between architecture and planning. You have that selection in B1 and B2. Other than that, everyone who is attempting GATE architecture paper has to attempt the general aptitude and the common part. So firstly, with respect to general aptitude, this has a standard number of questions, only 10 questions, and of these 10 questions, 5 are going to be of 1 mark. There will be 5 questions of 2 marks each. So the total weightage of general aptitude is 15 marks, and that is fixed. This doesn't change from year to year. And in past, if you observe, if you look into from the time general aptitude was introduced into GATE paper, all the questions of general aptitude have always been of multiple choice question type only. So what do we mean by multiple choice question? Because I'm talking about multiple choice question, let me very quickly take you through the types of questions you will be having in the GATE examination. But in general aptitude, you have only MCQs, which will contribute to a total of 15 marks, 5 of which are 1 mark and 5 of which are 2 marks. Now what are the topics covered in this general aptitude? We'll discuss that under the syllabus section. So to first begin with the types of questions, in the GATE Architecture and Planning paper, you will be having 3 types of questions in all. You will have multiple choice questions, wherein there will be 4 options, A, B, C, D. Only one of it will be correct. Of the 4 multiple choice, you need to make a choice between these 4 options. Only 4 options, A, B, C, D. One will be correct of these 4. Any one can be correct. That's multiple choice question. Then you have multiple select question type, MSQ questions. Multiple select questions also have 4 options, A, B, C, D. and in the examination it will be mentioned which one. So if both the types of questions are having 4 options, then how do we know which is multiple choice and which is multiple select? It will be mentioned in the question paper. By looking at the interface itself, you will understand. Generally in multiple choice questions, the options will have a radio button with circular dots. You can make only one selection of the 4. You can select any one. But in multiple select questions, generally you will have a checkbox with square shape. You can tick multiple options of these in multiple select. Generally that's the interface. However, these basic aspects of interface and all you'll understand when you attempt mock tests later on, once you're done with the preparation. So that's multiple select type question, where any one option can be correct, 2 options can be correct, 3 options can be correct, or all the 4 options can also be correct. So that's multiple select. You need to select all the possible correct options, whichever you think are correct, and there is no partial marking. What is partial marking? Let us say, for example, the correct answer for a question is A, B, C, D. You have only selected A and B. You will not get 50% of the marks. You will get 0, because in GATE exam there is no partial marking for partially correct answers. You need to select all the possible correct answers, only then you will get your full marks. And finally, you have numerical answer type question, where there are no options at all. There is an input box, and into this input box you need to type in your answer with the decimal point. So you will have an input box with wherein it can take inputs from 0 to 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decimal point and a negative sign, because sometimes negative answers can also be a correct answer. So you need to type in whatever your numerical value. It can be a decimal value rounded off to 2 decimal places. You can type into the input box. So these are the 3 types of questions. However, general aptitude, historically speaking, never MSQ or NAT questions have been asked. Only multiple choice questions have been asked in the general aptitude part. Now, you might think, okay, multiple choice questions are easier compared to MSQ and NAT questions, because in terms of probability, if you select an option in multiple choice question, there's a 25% chance that it is the correct answer with a random guess also. But in multiple select and NAT type question, there are wide number, so there are unlimited options. Or in terms of MSQ, there are a huge number of alternative combinations you can select. So there is no negative marking in these questions. So remember, multiple choice questions is the only type of question which has negative marks in the GATE paper. So all the questions of the general aptitude will have negative marking. That is something which you have to keep in mind from general aptitude point of view. That said, it is an easy to score area, but you have to be careful because all the questions have negative mark there. Now moving towards the second part in the GATE question paper, that is the common part. Now many people think, I've seen this even in the past too, some students particularly, they tend to get lost in understanding which part to study. So even before starting with the preparation, they waste a lot of time in understanding, should I select architecture part or should I select planning part, which one should I leave? These are, as per, we'll come to this decision making of part B later on, but let me tell you in the beginning, from question paper structure point of view, majority of the question paper is in the common part. Only a small portion of the question paper, that is 25% of the marks only, is for part B. The remaining 75% of the weightage of the question paper is all common for everyone. So don't, and 75% of the question paper is a huge percentage, right? So you need not waste a lot of time on just focusing on the 25% of the question paper and how to make a decision. However, it is important to know about part B and I will talk about it, but first remember that the weightage for part A is very much higher than the architecture or planning part. So what is common part? Common part includes basics of both the topics. So in broad terms, why was this change introduced into the GATE structure, question paper structure? Because GATE architecture and planning is a common question paper for both architecture graduates and planning graduates, and there are some subjects which are taught only to architecture graduates, and similarly there are subjects which only are important for planning graduates. So those core topics, like for instance in architecture, structural design, history of architecture, building materials and construction, these are included into the architecture part particularly. And similarly transportation, regional planning, these are aspects which are planning technique, management, GIS and survey. These are topics particularly relevant only for the planning graduates, so it is included in the planning part. all the basics of architecture and planning curriculum, topics including construction management, estimation and valuation, basics of landscape architecture, urban design, conservation, environmental planning, basics of planning, that is planning theories, all these topics, housing, basics of housing, all these are included into the common part. So majority of the question paper, in terms of number of questions, there will be a total of 39 questions, that is fixed number. Now of these 39, how many will be multiple choice questions, how many will be multiple select, and how many will be NAT type? That is not fixed, it keeps on changing every year. That's what we are going to discuss in the marks distribution analysis in a while. So what will be the distribution generally? But the weightage for common part, it always will have 39 questions with a total weightage of 60 marks. Now these 60 marks, how much will be from numerical questions and how much is from MCQ, MSQ, that is not fixed. Every year it changes. As far as part B is considered, architecture or planning, you have an option to make a selection between architecture or planning. Whichever part you select, be it architecture or be it planning, you will have a total number of questions of 16, and these 16 questions will give you a total weightage of 25% of the marks, 25 marks. So you see the total weightage is 15 plus 60 plus 25, that is 100 marks. So GATE architecture paper will be for a total weightage of 100 marks. And these 100 marks, for these 100 marks you will need to answer 65 questions in all. These 65 questions include 10 questions from the general aptitude, 39 questions from the common part, and 16 questions from the part which you will be selecting, be it architecture or planning. So these how much time will you have for these 65 questions contributing to 100 marks? This you need to do in 3 hours of time, that is 180 minutes. So 180 minutes, 65 questions is approximately 2 point something per question. So you have more than 2 minutes, slightly less than 3 minutes of time per question. So it is very much different from requirement tests in architecture and planning. So there are various competitive examinations for requirement of architects or town planner positions. These exams generally have 2-hour duration with 120 questions, like 1 minute per question. But here the weightage or the duration you have per question is much higher. What do you understand by that? GATE is not an exam where time is going to be a major concern. Conceptual understanding is what they test, not just recalling and selecting a right answer. That's not how GATE exam is. So preparation has to be very strong at the foundational level, at the conceptual level. So that's a broad understanding of the question paper. What are you going to expect in the question paper in terms of number of marks and weightage? So important takeaway from this particular discussion over here is, don't waste your time of preparation just thinking about these 25 marks and which part to select. Rather, focus on the holistic coverage of the syllabus. For that, so with that, let me take you through the details of the syllabus. Let us have a brief discussion on what all should you be studying. Now, I'm not discussing each section in detail, but I'll give you a broad idea, because there are other videos of ours on the same YouTube channel where you can check out the further details of our course curriculum, how we at KP classes teach you and help you in your preparation, how our study material books are structured, everything. You'll find details of it on our YouTube channel. You can look out for the other videos. In fact, we also have various videos with important content, including what are the colleges where you can take admission, what are the best IITs you can get into with GATE Architecture School. We have a detailed analysis done on all these aspects, so you can check out our YouTube channel for those details. Well, let us look into the details of the syllabus now. Let us try to understand the syllabus. Let me first begin with those 15 marks of general aptitude, which I said is fixed every year with only multiple choice questions. So that includes basically, so this is general aptitude part, which is mandatory for everyone irrespective of what you're selecting, architecture or planning, and it is common for everyone who is attempting the GATE architecture, or in fact it is this part of the question paper, those 15 marks of general aptitude, it is common for everyone who is writing GATE exam in that particular session. So generally GATE exam is conducted on 2 or 3 weekends with two slots, forenoon and afternoon. Basically before noon and afternoon, 2 slots will be there in a given slot of GATE paper. Not only architecture, anyone who's writing GATE exam in that particular slot will have the same question paper of general aptitude. That's how it is generally. So as far as general aptitude is considered, there will be 4 sections in it. So before 2021 there were only two parts. There was only quant and verbal. Quant is basically basic math, quantitative aptitude, and verbal aptitude, which includes basic English grammar, synonyms, antonyms, and understanding of the comprehension, basically comprehension of the English language. So that's basically tested as a part. So originally there were these two parts, but two more additional parts were added into general aptitude from the year 2021, which includes spatial aptitude. Spatial aptitude includes basically diagram based reasoning, where you have mirror images, rotation and translation based questions. So they can give you a composition, they will flip it, mirror it, and then ask you the output. So understanding pictures, that is our spatial reasoning or spatial aptitude. And then you also have analytical aptitude, which is basically simple reasoning based questions. So these four parts: quantitative aptitude, verbal aptitude, spatial aptitude, and analytical aptitude, these four parts together will have 10 questions. There is no fixed number of how many questions will be asked from each part. It can change every year, but those 10 questions are always of MCQ type, like I said. But as per the official brochure of GATE exam, they say that any type of all these three types of questions, MSQ, MCQ, and NAT, all the three types of questions can be asked in any section. But like I said, historically speaking, only multiple choice questions have been asked in the general aptitude, with negative marking for all the questions. And how much negative marking do these questions, MCQ questions, have? They have a negative marking of 1/3 of the weightage of the question. If it is a 1 mark question, the negative mark will be -1/3, that is minus 0.33 marks for an incorrect answer. If it is a 2 marks question, the negative marking will be -2/3, that is minus 0.67 for every incorrect answer. So in both the cases, it is 1/3 of the weightage of the question. 1 mark or 2 mark, based on that the negative marking will change. That's with respect to the general aptitude. Coming to the common part now, the major part, like I said, is part A, that is the common part. There are 7 sections, as per the official syllabus of the GATE Architecture and Planning. There are a total of 7 sections in the common part. You can check out the official syllabus from the GATE website. You can also find out the detailed section-wise analysis on our website as well. You'll find the links for all the social media handles, including the website, in the description of the video as well. So in the common part, you have a total of 7 sections, which includes the first section basically includes the basics of architecture, including architectural standards, barrier-free design, basics of design, principles of design, principles of universal design, architectural graphics, understanding color theory. All these aspects are included in the first section, that is architecture section. And then you have construction management, the second section. Even though I've written as construction management, it also includes topics of project management, including estimation and valuation as well, estimation particularly. So the second section includes construction management, estimation, valuation, majorly. These are the areas covered under it. And then you have environmental planning, which includes basics of environment, ecosystems, sustainable development goals, and also understanding the ecosystems and terms related to ecology. And you also have climate responsive design as a part of it. So that's the basics of environmental planning. Then you have urban design, which includes urban design, landscape architecture, and also conservation conservation principles, and also international bodies in the area of conservation. All that is included, including UNESCO World Heritage Sites, understanding heritage and conservation. That is included in the 4th section. Then the 5th section is planning, which includes the basic planning theories and basic principles of urban planning. Then you have housing, which includes housing and also valuation, real estate valuation, and also principles of housing standards, FAR based calculations, built up area calculations, that is included in housing. And then finally you have services, which includes water supply, sewage treatment, solid waste management, and also fire safety. So various services in an infrastructure planning of cities, that is included in the services section, the 7th section. So as you can understand, the common part is a combination and a balance of both architecture and planning topics. Basics of both these curriculum, both these areas are covered in the common part, and this has the maximum weightage of 60 marks of the GATE paper. So doing well in this part is going to be very important. Now with respect to one major change which happened after the change of the pattern is now the number of numericals. Now that is not fixed, it changes every year, but one thing for sure and one thing which you cannot escape is there will for sure be numericals. Now from the common part, the range of the number of numericals has been widely changing. If you look into the recent paper of GATE 2025, in the common part there were 12 numericals, total 12 NAT type questions were asked in the common part. But if you look into past patterns, like for instance in the year GATE 2023, there were only 6 questions, 6 numericals asked. So there can be wide range of 6 to 12 NAT questions asked over here. Whatever be the number, there are, so if you look into the overall understand the syllabus, so I'm just trying to give you a bit of insight into understanding the syllabus and an important observation. There are some topics in this common part which are purely theoretical in nature. It is very highly unlikely that you'll get a numerical question from that part. For instance, and majority of the topics of environmental planning like ecosystems, ecology, or for that matter even principles of design. So it is highly unlikely that you get a direct numerical. However, there can always be exceptions, but generally. And similarly, there are some areas which are very important from numerical understanding or numerical analysis point of view. Like for instance construction management. So these are some areas. So now in the beginning I think it can be a bit confusing to understand these intricacies, but once you're done with the thorough preparation, you will understand that there are some areas where a numerical is inevitable in the GATE paper, and in last 5 years you will not find a single question paper where there is no numerical from the topic of construction management. There is no single question paper in last 5 years where there is no numericals from housing based questions, FAR and densities based calculations. So there are some areas where it is inevitable from which numerical can be asked. Now it can be from any topic of construction management. There can be numerical questions from crashing, there can be numerical questions from just estimating the time, project completion time. There can also be calculations or basically numerical questions with respect to float. So all these have been asked in the past. So that's construction management. Similarly, housing is an important area from which numericals are inevitably asked. Similarly, from landscape architecture of the urban design section, runoff based calculations asked almost every year. Similarly, there are areas in water supply and sewage treatment also where numerical questions have been asked multiple times in the GATE paper. So you need to analyze those scoring areas from which you can boost up your score in those 60 marks. So that's a very brief discussion on it, but again you will get a thorough clarity when you go through the detailed preparation of the common part in detail. Now moving on to the part B, that is architecture part. In architecture part and also in the planning part, both, whichever you select, you will have 3 sections to study. In the architecture part you have history of architecture, including architects and the works and contemporary architecture. Then the second section includes building materials, building construction and structures, structural analysis basically. For people attending the architecture part, structure is going to be an important area where numericals will be asked, and in 2025 paper just from structures there are 2 or 3 numericals asked in the architecture part of the question paper. In fact, one numerical of, even though structures is in the architecture part, one numerical for 2 marks was asked in the common part. Not only in 2025, even in the past this has happened. The boundaries are not very rigid. Even though I'm talking about the official syllabus into topic wise discussion over here, these boundaries are not at all rigid. There are always questions like for instance in building services there's a topic of air conditioning systems, but there was a 2 marks question from air conditioning asked in the common part in the year 2022. Similarly, structures based numericals which are particularly mentioned in the architecture part, but numericals even in 2025 also recently was asked in the common part too. So it is important to have a thorough understanding of all the topics. You can have an area of focus that okay, I will focus on the planning part, but you should not leave out anything in your preparation because the boundaries are not rigid in the examination. So structures is the second section. Then you have building services, which includes topics of lighting and illumination, acoustics, also includes topics of building services of water supply, plumbing, sewage treatment in buildings, air conditioning systems. Like I said, all these aspects of building services are included in the third section of the architecture part. Similarly, in the planning, so basically architecture and planning part, these include slightly advanced topics related to that subject or that area, that discipline only. So in planning you have 3 sections. The first one is regional planning, which includes planning theory. So basic planning theories are already included in the common part, but planning techniques and regional planning that is included in the first section of the planning. Then you have planning technique management, which includes planning legislature, also includes urban governance, also includes GIS, survey and survey techniques, remote sensing. All these are included, even financial appraisal, all these are included in the planning technique management section of the planning part. That said, the financial appraisal, or basically valuation based concepts, are also included in the real estate valuation, but so those topics are overlapping. So there are questions from areas like real estate valuation based questions have been asked in the planning part also, even though it's a common part subject. So that also happens. It's not only that part B will be asked into the common part, sometimes common part topics are also asked into the part B. Similarly, the last section is transportation, which includes the advanced topics of transportation, transport survey, and also other terms related to parking, traffic analysis. All those are included in the third section of the planning. This is going to be the, so just like how structures is a important numerical area for architecture part, similarly transportation is a very important numerical area for the planning part. Advanced numerical questions from transports and transport survey, traffic survey, transport survey, parking analysis, all these numericals of this part have been asked in the planning part. If you observe into GATE 2025 paper, all the numericals of the planning part are from transportation. When I say all, it's like there were 3 numericals and all the 3 were from transportation. Not a single numerical was asked from any other section in the planning part of GATE 2025. So that can also happen. That's the importance of transportation, numerical part of transportation in the planning part of the question paper. I hope you have a broad idea on the understanding of the syllabus. So important takeaway again from understanding of syllabus, the most important takeaway for you is going to be that the boundaries are not rigid. Don't limit yourself to just some of, don't leave out, don't skip out some topic completely. If you feel that's not your strong area, then you can just focus on the basics of it. Like let us say for example you feel, okay, structures is not for me, I do not understand anything of it. Don't leave it out completely. Learn the basics of it at least, because like I said, questions are asked into the common part, and if it is a simple question from that section, you should not be in a state where you lose those marks just because you have left your preparation completely for that particular subject. That said, we at KPGate classes take care that even if you are for any subject, not only for structure, for every subject, even if you know nothing about it, even if you are at 0 level, even then you will understand the complete concepts from GATE point of view, and you will easily able to answer the questions when you attend the lecture. So that is something which we take care of. We take every topic right from the basics to advanced level by teaching you all the foundational concepts important for that particular subject, and that even not only from classes, even if you're doing your self-study, that's how you need to prepare. Learn and understand every topic right from the basics to advanced level, because there can be any type of questions, simple or difficult, from any subject in the GATE paper. Moving towards the distribution marks, distribution analysis, let me briefly take you through some key takeaways from the past pattern of the GATE paper in terms of the numerical questions and negative marking. Firstly, if I talk about the numerical questions, many people have this question: how many numericals are we going to get in the paper? Can I leave all the numericals and get a good rank in the GATE examination? So these are some questions which people tend to have. Let me address those questions. So in terms of numerical questions, the number is not fixed, firstly. Secondly, I would say leaving out complete numericals and still getting a good rank is almost unlikely, almost highly unlikely. Reason being, GATE syllabus, GATE architecture is, the syllabus and the question paper is of such a way, is designed in such a way that the syllabus is an ocean in itself. You cannot cover 100% of it. Whatever amount of time you put in, you can still have an area from which a new question pops up into the question paper. That is something which can happen every year. So numericals are still those areas which with some level of certainty you can understand that these are the probable areas. Like if you look into 2025, the numerical questions of 2025 particularly, it was almost like a textbook pattern which you can expect. Like a numerical from construction management, tick. A numerical from housing, tick. A numerical from structures into the common part, tick. So a numerical from estimation, tick. So all those areas from which a numerical can be asked has been asked, and that is something which is the good thing about numericals. It is scoring. It can boost up your score. If you're not good at numbers, if you're not good at calculations, do not worry. If you learn the concepts and then understand the basics, you can easily score well in the numerical part of the GATE examination. It's not that difficult to learn right away from the basics. If we look into the number of numericals historically speaking in the past patterns of the GATE paper, in the year 2021 paper, there were a total of 12 numerical questions asked. In the year 2022, the number of numericals was increased by almost say 4 questions. So it was 16 questions asked in the 2022 paper. In the year 2023, the number of numericals was 4 questions less than it. So generally the average number of numericals is 12. I'm talking about the total number of numericals out of the 55 questions of the architecture and planning part and the common part. I'm excluding the general aptitude section because all those 10 questions, like I said, are of MCQ type only. NAT questions, generally it is 12 plus or minus 4. That's how it has been historically. In the year 2024, the number of numericals were 13. There were 13 numerical questions asked in the year 2024. Like I said, on an average it is around 12. But there can be a variation. It can be plus or minus 4. This year, 2025, this was something new. In this year 2025 GATE paper, if you have selected the planning part, then the number of numericals you had to answer was 15. So basically in 2025 in the common part there were 12 numericals plus there were 3 there was only so there were 12 numericals into the common part of the paper, if I'm not wrong. Yes, and there were 5 numericals asked in the architecture part and 3 numericals asked in the planning part. So if you have selected the architecture part, the total number of numericals for you will be 17. If you have selected the planning part, the total number of numericals for you would be 15. So this is for architecture part people and this is for planning part. So this is the first time from the year GATE syllabus and pattern has been updated from the year 2022. This is the first time that the number of numericals is not same in the architecture and planning part. In architecture part, there were 5 numericals. In the planning part, there were only 3 numericals. All the 3 from transportation, like I said, that too advanced topics of transportation. So, like I said, the number changes every year. So in a way you can say 2025 paper had the highest number of numerical questions if you look into last 5 years of GATE pattern. So just to keep in mind, on an average you can expect 12 numericals, and those 12 numericals are important for you to boost up your score. And if it is a higher number of numericals like 2025, it is even more, it will end up for you to be even more important to do well in the numerical part. So that is about the numerical answer type questions. Now coming to the negative marking aspect, the number of negative marking questions. So which questions have negative marking? I hope you remember by now. Only multiple choice questions have negative marking. So if I talk about the multiple choice questions in the GATE paper, in the past pattern, in the year 2025, there were a total of 35 questions which had negative marking. There were a total of 35 MCQ questions which had a negative marking in it. In the year 2022, the number of questions with negative marking dropped down by a huge number. There were only 25 questions with multiple choice type. So the number of negative marking questions has brought us. So why is that such a huge fall? Not only because of numericals, but also due to increase in the number of multiple select questions. There was a huge rise in the number of multiple select and also numerical questions, because of which MCQ questions were less in number. So what would be the outcome of it? You will end up in a situation where the GATE question paper will have less number of questions with negative marking. Only 25 questions out of 55, less than 50% of the paper had negative marking in it. So that is 2025. If I just talk about the exclude the general aptitude part, all these numbers are excluding general aptitude. If you add general aptitude, 10 questions more will be added every year, because all the 10 questions of general aptitude are multiple choice only. That is 2022. In the year 2023, the number of questions with negative marking was 30. There were 30 multiple choice questions. Generally, this is the average number. On an average, you can expect around 30 multiple choice questions. That is slightly more than 50% of the common part, architecture part and planning part, excluding the general aptitude. Slightly more than 50% of the paper will be multiple choice. That is something which has negative marking, which includes both 1 mark and 2 mark questions. That's 2023. In the year 2024, and the least number of questions with negative marking, that was only 23 questions, and that was not mainly due, if you see, the numerical questions are not very huge in 2024. but only 23 questions are MCQ questions. What do you understand by that? All the remaining increased number of questions were of multiple select type, which are the trickiest questions, which I personally feel in the GATE examination. You can answer and score well in the multiple select questions only if you are very good at your conceptual understanding, particularly the theory topics. That is 2024. In the year 2025, again the same number, average 30 questions, so exactly 30. So it was, if you select the architecture part, there were 30 MCQ questions for you. If you select planning part, there were 31 questions with negative marking in it, MCQ questions, so one extra MCQ was asked. So that's for the planning part. This is for architecture part, this is for planning. So what do you understand? What are the key takeaways from the exam marks distribution analysis? You generally can expect around 12, on an average 12 numerical questions can be asked, will be asked generally, plus or minus 4 to 5, and on an average 30 multiple choice questions. So the number of questions with negative marking is slightly more than 50%. You have to be extra careful in those questions in the examination. Now the good thing is, whichever distribution the exam paper is following, something constant every year is you will have easy, moderate and difficult questions in every question paper. So with that, let me take you through the summary towards the end, some key aspects which you have to remember for your preparation and also for your examination. So first and most important, so most of these points we have already discussed, one or two can be a new points for you. So as per a summary, the first thing, as far as this syllabus is considered, like I said, the boundaries are not rigid at all. There are always topics from the common part asked into the part B, that is architecture planning. Similarly, topics of architecture or planning like structures, air conditioning, or even some aspects of PTM. In 2025, there was a numerical from understanding of scale, which is a topic of PTM basically. A numerical from it was asked in the common part. So there are numericals from structures, air conditioning, or also other topics including like scale from survey so that is something which is included in PTM. All those are asked in the common part as well. So don't leave out any topic. That is the first important point you have to remember in your preparation. Second thing is with respect to selection of part B. Which part to study? You can have, like I said earlier, you can have an area of focus. If you're good in architecture, you can have a special focus on that. If you're good in planning, you can have a special focus on that. But don't leave out anything completely unless you're starting your preparation 1 month before the exam. So if you're just starting your preparation 1 month before the exam with only target of scoring well but not getting a single digit or double digit rank, if that's not your target, then for sure you can leave out some topics. But if you are someone who's targeting for the best, who's targeting to complete the entire syllabus, you have to study everything. Don't make a final selection, because the selection of part B, architecture or planning, is something which you do in the examination. Let me just give you an example. Now for this, you can also, on our YouTube channel, you will find the interviews with the toppers of every year's GATE exam, including GATE 2025. You can check out those videos and interactions, how they ended up getting good rank and what was their understanding. So if I give you the example of the first ranker of 2025, James, you can check out his video on our YouTube channel as well. He always during the preparation had an inclination towards the architecture part. He had a special focus on that. He thought that was his strong area, but in the examination he ended up answering planning part instead of architecture. Now, even though his focus was architecture, in the examination he found that he would score well in the planning part, and so he selected that. So you should have that option, and he ended up getting the first rank in 2025. So remember, the selection of part B is something which you do in the examination based on the question paper and based on how you are scoring that paper that year. So in the preparation you have to study everything. Don't make a final selection at the preparation level. That is very important for you to remember. As far as negative marking is considered, like I said, the number of questions with negative marking can vary. On an average it is 30, but it is very important, and this becomes a very suitable strategy for many of them to boost up their score. And with respect to negative marking, remember, of these three types, MCQ, MSQ and NAT questions, only these questions have negative marking. There is no negative marking in multiple select question and NAT type. So by the end of whenever you're writing the GATE examination, and at the point of time you're completing your exam, you should not be leaving out any question of MSQ or NAT. Even so, I'm not asking you to take a random guess, but I'm just telling you that you can take a risk. You need not leave out a question completely. In the MSQ question of why don't they have negative marking? Because it is difficult to guess a right answer with random guess, because there are huge number of, it's not like selecting 1 out of 4 options, right? So but still, with some understanding of the question by elimination approach, you can end up coming up with an answer. You should try to do it and not leave out any MSQ or NAT question, because there's no negative marking. You can take that additional risk, but that risk you have to do it in a controlled manner in the multiple select choice questions. That is something important for you to deal with the negative marking. And with respect to difficult paper, I told this already and have been telling this for every student of mine for the last say for my complete teaching experience, and also you'll find this point on many of our YouTube channel videos too, that the difficulty level of the question paper is something which is very subjective. Whatever the difficulty level is, there will always be some easy questions, some moderate questions. There is no gate paper with only difficult questions filled in it. There are always combination of all the three. When a paper is difficult, you can say the number of difficult questions can be slightly higher, unexpected difficult questions, but still there will be easy and moderate questions, and you should always target to capitalize, to improve your score on the easy and moderate part. Even if you're able to score 70 plus, you would be generally, I'm speaking in general, if you're able to score 70 plus, you will get a wonderful double digit rank in the GATE examination generally, and the cutoff is only 40 marks. Now that's not that difficult to score. I'm talking about the cutoff of GATE 2025. So if you are able to do well in all the easy moderate questions, and if you're able to control your negative marking, you will for sure end up getting a double digit rank easily. But you have to do that in a now when can you find something easy or moderate? When you have a thorough understanding of the syllabus. So every aspect of it is important, covering the entire syllabus, not leaving out any topic, handling well with the negative marking, and understanding that you need to score well in the easy and moderate questions. So this is how you can end up getting a good rank in the GATE paper. And finally, I cannot emphasize less on this last point of making notes, be it during your self-study, be it during your classes, attending the lectures, be it during your revision. At every point of time, you should have notes with you, and you should be making bullet pointers, notes, so that you can revise from it, because just reading, you will forget it later on. Write down whatever you're studying, and don't write lengthy paragraphs and waste your time. Write bullet pointers, highlight things in it, use it for your revision. That's going to be very important. And any lecture, any interaction with any topper you find on a YouTube channel, you will for sure come up with this point of notes making, and everyone has made their own notes. Now, taking notes from someone, not at all suitable for competitive exam. It should be your handmade notes which you are going to study and revise from. That will give you or get you into a best possible rank in the GATE examination. I hope all these basics of GATE architecture and planning, where to start with, how can you kickstart your preparation, I hope these aspects are clear for you. You can always reach out to us for any further guidance you need in your preparation of GATE architecture and planning. And we have a complete preparation in our course curriculum, which has been proven time and again with wonderful results every year, including in GATE 2025. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay connected with us. Thank you.